Hello, and welcome to the Daily Space for today, Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brain. It is turning out to be one heck of a weird, but so far the science keeps flowing. Today's first story uses words in ways I have to admit I was not prepared to encounter in a press release. Astronomers have announced, and I quote, cotton candy like exoplanets called SuperPuffs may actually have rings. According to new research published in the Astronomical Journal by Carnegie's Anthony Pyro and Caltech's Sheras Vasaprada, apparently the one-time astronomers decided to give something an awesome name and description. It was food and fashion related. So what is a super puff? If you try Googling as I did, you will learn it is one of the big puffy quilted jackets made popular by Eddie Bauer and Lululemon. Not useful. If you Google, however, super puff planet, you'll find out they are planets whose size has been measured by studying how they transit their host star and whose mass has been measured from how they gravitationally interact with their star. And combining these two results have disturbingly low densities. Actually, I remember the first one of these being announced back in 2014 and talking to other folks about how the announced 0.1 grams per cubic centimeter, a tenth the density of water, being found for these worlds simply made no sense. As our earlier quote implies, this is a bit like making a planet the density of cotton candy. For some reason, we didn't immediately jump to the thought, but what if these worlds have rings that make it seem like they are way bigger than they actually are and destroyed our measurements? Well, this didn't occur to me or the speaker I remember listening to. It did occur to Pyro and Vasapragda, who have calculated that some but not all of these super puffs observed can be explained with familiar ring systems like those that we're used to. And they also showed that with high enough quality observations, we may be able to observe the difference between a ringed world and a puffed out world. Unfortunately, we're going to have to use JWST if it ever launches to make those observations. So this result can't be confirmed for a while, but for now, it's comforting to know that these worlds have down-to-Earth or at least down-to-Saturn explanations. Now, our second story of the day is one that actually set me searching through my press releases because it seemed to be an update on prior results. A team using Gaia data to study the structure of our Milky Way Galaxy has published a new paper in the journal Nature Astronomy, describing the warp of our galaxy and attributing it to a collision. Now, in general, galactic warps are thought to pretty much always come from collisions. So by itself, this didn't seem all that newsworthy. The team actually buried the lead, and it was in the third section of the release that they contended the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy might just be the galaxy driving the warp with its ongoing merger into the Milky Way. And that is cool to figure out. Gaia's amazingly precise measurements of stellar positions and motions have allowed them to not just trace out the shape of the Milky Way's warp, but to also measure how it is moving. They have determined that the warp itself will appear to make one full precession about the galaxy every 600 to 700 million years. And as the constituent stars move around our galaxy, bobbing up and down in the orbit, they'll make the warp itself appear to move, but its motion is slower than that of the stars. The warp goes around every 600 to 700 million years, and the stars complete their cycles every 200 to 300 million years. This story takes a known concept, collisions make warps, and paints in amazing details just how our warp came into being, showing once again that science is an incremental process. Now, in general, this week is proving to be a really slow week in science. And I think that in part it's triggered by so many people having a WTF, what is going on with this world kind of week. Over the weekend, the American Physical Society canceled their annual meeting less than a day before events were slated to start. The cancellation was due to fear of, well, spreading the coronavirus amongst the 10,000 people attending that meeting. Money was already spent, and a lot of people had already traveled. This triggered a collective scramble in the science community to figure out what other meetings are at risk. And we're seeing a wild interest in sorting how to hold remote meetings. As we've mentioned before, our team is planning to take off next week so we can plan our coverage of the annual lunar and planetary meeting in Houston. In this case, a meeting of several thousand people, but not 10,000 people. At this time, that meeting is still planned. But in looking into things, we've learned that many hotels and event centers don't rationally allow cancellation for emergency unless it's just hours or days away from the event's start. This means we can tell you that LPSC is still on, but it, like the American Physical Society meeting, could be canceled at the last minute, depending on how the coronavirus evolves. We will do what we can to bring you the news, meeting or no meeting. But we do expect that it's going to be slow news for a little while because, let's face it, world events affect the ability of scientists to science. And that's all the science we've got. So that concludes today's Daily Space. My name is Dr. Pamela Gay, and I not only hosted this episode, but I wrote it as well. This episode will be produced and podcast by the amazing Susie Murph. We are a production of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. We are here thanks to the generous contributions of people like you. Like our show? Well, consider sharing it and supporting it through your bits, your subs, and your patronage over on patreon.com. I am hearing the sound of bits, and we have doggos who are very excited by your bits. Let's see if I can get all of them hopping up in the chair. Malachi's like, no, I'm not going to fight with those guys. They are learning to catch, and I am enjoying this so much. I accidentally tossed the bits into the corner of the chair. Thank you. Larry Weird is pointing out that South by Southwest begins in Austin in 2 weeks with 50 to 100,000 people expected. We're seeing that many companies are already canceling their participation in South by Southwest. And with places as close as Washington State basically canceling all events of 1,000 people or more, I somewhat expect that South by Southwest will be canceled. Things that are further in the future, like Dragon Con, we won't know about till the middle of summer. Comic-Con in May. I'm sure is watching this with a great deal of confusion. So Raj Luthra asks, have you seen about the two white dwarfs merging? Yes, we covered that in yesterday's show. Go back and watch the white dwarf merger news in that episode. Long story short, it was two small white dwarfs that combined into one giant one with a mass of 1.14 solar masses, coming just in under the 1.4 go boom mass limit. All right, let's see what questions we have in the chat. Dear dogs, why did you all abandon the chair? Go get up in the chair. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh, I'm sorry about the music at the beginning of the show. It somehow reverted to old settings. I think I have things working better. Raj Luther's like, I just noticed one of the dogs has a different eye color. So we have a complete set. Stella has two blue eyes, Eddie has two brown eyes, and Malachi has one blue, and 1 brown. Now, it's not really a complete set, but it's as complete as we can get without ridiculousness, because Australian Shepherds also come with what are called liver-colored eyes. They are orange with brown spots in them, and we don't have that particular combination. All right, let's see what else we've got in here. Oh, I do need a second coffee. It's so true. Thank you, Susie Murph, for your 22-month streak. I noticed yesterday I've had a 22-month streak too. So apparently something happened 23 months ago where we both missed a month and we both picked it back up. Looking for questions. Still scrolling, still scrolling. I am sporting my Betelgeuse shirt today, by the way. It is finally somewhat warm here. It is like 15 Celsius. And I dared the short sleeves. It's true, Neuro1Net points out, cotton candy does not float, it melts. If you ever want to torture a raccoon, raccoons like to wash their food, and if you give them cotton candy near a source of water, they will try and wash it and will be the saddest raccoons with the saddest brown eyes. All right. So Larry says, Saturn is least dense world locally and has nice rings. Is there a connection? How close is Saturn to a SuperPuff? So, Saturn is the least dense of the worlds, I think. It is such that you could float it in water. Its density is below 1 gram per cubic centimeter. It's nowhere near being a SuperPuff. It's a factor of roughly 100 more dense than a SuperPuff. No, I did my math wrong. It's a factor of 10. I have no idea if there's a connection. That's intriguing. That is intriguing. Let's see what else we have in here. So much wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Looking for more questions. It is not a question-rich day. Thank you, Wayne Johnson, for the bits. I finally found the source of the bits. So since the coronavirus is in humans, let's not zap it with cosmic rays, because we like the humans who have the coronavirus and we wish for them to live, not get cancer. Let's see what else is in here. It's all right to still be catching up, Raj Luthra. It happens. Good morning, Bill Nash. Welcome to the land of the nerds. So Neuro1Net says, is Betelgeuse increasing in luminosity again? Yes, exactly as predicted, which is super annoying. Yeah, so... Okay, apparently that is all the science questions we have for today. So everyone give a shout out for your favorite convention this year so they don't cancel. So Ruff's Matt, this is a complicated situation because you don't know how many people out there are immunocompromised. And if a speaker cancels their appearance at a conference, even for health reasons, it does blight them. They are much less likely to be invited back. It's really better at a certain point that you just cancel things and keep everyone healthy. Everything can come back in a year. Taking a year off to stay home, it might be good for the world. Bill Nash asks, have you read the latest paper suggesting Alcubierre might be right? No, I am going to have to read that. I still don't see it as feasible, but I will read the paper. I will read the paper. Maybe. Um, yeah, Rev Smout. I'm a fan of alternate arrangements too. And I mean, imagine orchestrating a science fiction convention here on Twitch where we got speakers to just have their panels through Zoom. We share it all out. I don't know. These are the things that I've been thinking about. Sorry, I'm laughing at Larry's statement. Neural One says, "What are your thoughts on the protein they found in the meteorite?" So, for those of you who don't know, there is a meteorite that is considered to have originated outside of our solar system that they have found an unfamiliar protein in. There is a specific chemical definition of protein that I can't remember at this moment. But proteins don't have to come from life. So this is simply a meteorite that says, yes, life is potentially capable of forming in other solar systems. It's just one more piece of evidence to add to the constantly building evidence that, well, if life could form here, it could probably form elsewhere. We just don't know the likelihoods yet. I'm hoping we'll start to figure that out by figuring out if there's life in other places in our solar system. If it formed more than once in our solar system, it surely must have formed elsewhere. But we don't know. We don't know. So we have to wait. Roll a d20 on do all the things. I used to keep dice on my desk for reasons like that. Yeah, Neuro1Net. It is interesting to think about, but one of the cool things to remember is we've found amino acids forming very slowly in dense molecular clouds. This means you don't even need to have a world to form the stuff of life. It forms on its own quite naturally in big old giant clouds of cold stuff. Yes, Bill Nash is pointing out correctly. NASA opened up astronaut applications again yesterday, first time in 4 years. This is your standard reminder. They usually only hire the order of 5 to 20 people. You have to be the best of the best, both mentally, psychologically, stress-wise, intelligence-wise, language skills, first aid skills. But they do hire people all the way up through their late 40s. So don't worry about being too old to apply. I do worry about being too fat, too slow, or too challenged in other regards. Yeah. Also, a lot of astronauts never make it to space. Hopefully that's going to change soon. Hopefully. We'll see. Any more questions? If not, my plan for today is, as always, I'm going to go make lunch, which makes talking about a cotton candy planet all the more frustrating. I'm going to go make lunch. I need to do some cleanup of my inbox and my paperwork and submit receipts. But if time allows, I'm hoping to do some coding. I'm not sure time will allow, but tomorrow it's going to be wall-to-wall coding. So be prepared to come with your PHP hat on. Thank you all for being here. And I'm trying to figure out what that emote is, JB McCool. It looks like an anatomical heart in like raspberry creamsicle colors. I'm not sure. Oh, it's supposed to be cotton candy. Okay. It's supposed to be cotton candy. That makes so much more sense. Brains. Hello, fellow hoodlum. Hello. Okay, so I am going to consider the creation of lunch. But before I do that, I am once again going to remind all of you. My name is Dr. Pamela Gay, and I have been your host, and I wrote today's episode, which will be podcast and produced by the amazing Susie Murph. We are a production of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. Tomorrow is Rocket Wednesday, which will be brought to you by Annie Wilson. So come back at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. London time. We are here thanks to the generous contributions of people like you. And because we're a 501c3, your donations are tax deductible where allowed by law. If you have the extra, please consider giving. The best way that you can help us is on patreon.com/CosmoQuestX. And we'll do everything we can to help you learn everything you can about space science. And that's all I've got. So wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And I will see you on the other side. Bye-bye.